Hi everyone, it's Kate and welcome back to Maritime Ceramics. Today we are going to be testing Mayco's Eggplant Glaze. Now I have used passion flower, I think it's called, which is an eggplant base with the extra bits in it, the little crystals that make different colors. I really like it, it's a lot of fun, but I do find that at the end of the pint, I still have extra crystals left. So that's actually why I bought this, to add into the passion flower at the end so that I can, make more of that. But I am curious to know how this glaze performs in combination with some other glazes. I am doing all white clay testers this time around. Well, just because I don't have much in the way of red clay testers right now. What I do have are some succulent planters and some little bowls. So let's have a look at what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna take one of these little heart-shaped bowls. If you're interested in knowing how to make these, Sarah over on Three Little Potters did a good tutorial on these. And I am certainly not an expert. I have a lot to learn, but they were a fun little project, so I would encourage you to check it out. The nice thing about these too is that if you get a pot and you're throwing it off the hump and it goes a little wonky when you pull it off and you think, that one's gonna warp, well, you just do this and then it doesn't matter because it's supposed to warp. I don't think I'm gonna put the eggplant over the full one because I kind of like the idea of these two colors side by side, and then we'll see what it does on the border of those two colors. So we'll do eggplant part of the way up and then bluestone part of the way down, and we'll overlap them a little bit in the middle. Same thing with serpentine green. This is one of Amaco's new glazes, so PC13 just came out last year, end of last year. And I'm gonna pair it with the eggplant in the same way that I am the bluestone. So serpentine green on the top, eggplant on the bottom, a little bit of overlap in the middle. This one, I'm going to use, I have all Amaco glazes, not intentionally, it's just kind of what felt like it would be interesting. Mayco Indigo Float, I have done a full review on this one. I've actually done a full review on serpentine green as well. This, interestingly, is one of my most popular glaze reviews. It's one of the earliest ones that I did, and it still gets a lot of traffic. So you guys really like Indigo Float. So we're gonna try this over eggplant, and I think in this case, I will do a complete cover. So eggplant all over, Indigo Float all over. We'll see what happens. This guy, I want to combine eggplant with amethyst. A lot of you guys probably remember that I do a purple combo, so I call it iris. It's a celadon with amethyst on the top. The eggplant isn't really gonna show the texture as well as the celadon will. It shouldn't obscure it, like the texture should still be there, but it doesn't break, I don't think. I mean, I could be surprised. We'll give it a try and we'll see what the Coyote amethyst looks like over the eggplant. And I will do the same thing as these two, where the eggplant will go probably 3/4 of the way up, and then I'll dip in the amethyst and we'll have a little bit of overlap there and we can see what happens. So that's the plan. Let's get to it. For those of you who are new, this is my system for keeping track of what the heck I'm doing. As long as I remember to tick it off, it works really, really well. And then the bonus is that at the end of this, I can just take a picture of it if I remember, which I rarely do, to remind myself what the heck I did. Because a lot of the time with these videos, by the time I get to the end, it's been a while, right? By the time you glaze and then sometimes it sits around for a while waiting for the firing. A lot of the time you've just forgotten what you're doing. Do I glaze the feet? See if I can get around them without glazing them. I'm not optimistic. Probably should have waxed them, but I've put the wax away already and I'm not digging it out. Oh, shoot. Oh well. I was gonna say I shouldn't glaze the bottom of this because it's got my stamp on it, but whatever, it's a succulent planter. Half of them don't have stamps anyway because they're too small. Oops. Okay, I guess we're painting the feet. The good thing about this is that based on my experience with the other gloss glazes from Mayco, it shouldn't move at all, which does sound like famous last words, so you know, stay tuned. Okay, I'm second guessing my choice of this because I think this would look super cute in a celadon, so I'm going to use this guy. You don't have much of a choice with these vases. You pretty much have to pour your glaze in, but I have found that most of the brushing glazes do fine when they're poured, except for the ones that are super sensitive to thickness, and sometimes that doesn't work great. This texture is always interesting to try and brush over. Works better in a dipping format, but we've made our choices and now we have to live with them. I just had an idea for a combo that I want to do. Maybe I'll do it off screen and surprise you guys. Let's review what we are putting into the kiln. So on this little guy, we have 3 coats of eggplant and 3 coats of blue stone from Amaco. On this one, and I'm gonna need to wipe the bottoms of those, this one has 3 coats of eggplant again, and then 3 coats of serpentine green from Amaco. This one has 2 coats of eggplant, so we can see what that looks like. Maybe we'll see more of the texture through that. And a long dip of amethyst. And I actually double dipped it on the top, trying to get a little bit of variation there. So we'll see what that looks like. And then this little guy has 3 coats of eggplant and 3 coats of indigo float from Amaco. And I've actually glazed another one off screen, and I'm going to save that. That'll be a surprise for you. Okay, our testers are out of the kiln for the eggplant, and I gotta be honest, there are some surprises here. Good surprises. So let's just dive into them and have a peek, because there are some really fun combos here. This is the combo with amethyst on top and eggplant on the bottom. This surprised me for a couple of reasons. One is that the color is very close to Amaco's mulberry, and I don't think I have any examples of that hanging around. I think I've sold all of those, but by that I mean it's kind of a warmer purple. If you saw the glaze review that I did where I compared Coyote's iris to Amaco's mulberry, iris is a very cool purple and mulberry is a very warm purple, and this is a warm purple for sure. The other thing that surprised me is that you can see the texture. So when I've used these gloss glazes in the past, they've been completely opaque. And that is not the case here, even on the ones where I used 3 coats. This one I only did 2 coats, but even on the 3 coat ones, you can still see the texture popping through, which is interesting. And for me, that's interesting in a good way because I use a lot of texture in my work and I don't want to obscure that with the glaze. So that was a happy surprise. The amethyst, I should have dipped for longer. This is not as amethysty as I would have liked, but you can see that they have melded together. So I suspect this will look quite pretty. I'm gonna try it again because I do this color combo in my work, and I will do a heavier coat of amethyst the next time. But overall, really pretty. Very pleased with this result. Let's have a look at serpentine green and eggplant. Serpentine green did its thing with the pinholes again. I don't know. I don't understand why this glaze, these aren't pinholes, these are blisters. Sometimes this glaze blisters a lot and sometimes it doesn't, and I do not understand what the difference is. I do know that I live very close to an airport and it's currently training season for the forest firefighting pilots. So I'm gonna try and work around the airplanes going overhead, but if you hear one, that's what's going on. And so what I do really like about this combo is this combination of matte and the shiny green and the purple and the way that it has kind of melded together. So if Serpentine green were a more reliable glaze, I would definitely use this combo a ton. It isn't, so I can see myself kind of on the hunt for another matte green glaze to see if I can get this kind of result. Sorry, not matte green, but that kind of matte shiny combo. Because this is beautiful. These runs are absolutely delicious. The eggplant definitely could have been thicker. It's a little splotchy. I was not expecting to be able to see the texture through this one. Like I say, I expected it to be completely opaque, but clearly it is not. So it is a little splotchy. So be careful how you apply it. I was not particularly careful. And you can see here that when it's on light, it turns this kind of bluey lavender color, which is, pretty in its own way. And what's really interesting is that when the iris celadon goes on too light, I had kind of a disaster recently. Long story, not important. Anyway, it looked a lot like this. So even though this is a much warmer purple, when it's thin, it gets quite cool. I can't remember if it was on their website or where it was, but Serpentine green and Tuscan blue are both made from the blue stone base. Okay? And I have had issues with the occasional little blister from bluestone, but not like this. But you can definitely see the relationship between the two. Very similar in texture. The bluestone doesn't get this shininess to it, or at least I haven't had that. And bluestone's one, I have the glaze, I haven't done a review on it. Let me know if it's one you're interested in or not. I'm always interested to hear what glazes you're looking to learn more about. The eggplant, again, here you're seeing the texture through. This is a little splotchy, but I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cute. You can see the little swirl in the bottom. The bluestone went very blue, where it overlaps with the eggplant, and it retained kind of its own character here along the top. So it's quite a cute combo. This is one, when it came out of the kiln, that my daughter kind of zoned in on. Said, "What's that?" In that way that tells me she was hoping I would say, "I have no use for this, you can take it and have it." She does have a lot of the little everything dishes. So overall, this was a really solid combo. Much more of a cool tone here. Functionally, this worked better than this did because there's no pinholes. This is our last one that we did on screen, and this is Eggplant with Indigo Float over top of it. And this was a surprise. I'm going to give you a close-up of this one. This is, and I hope it comes across on screen, this is a almost electric blue color. Like, it's really interesting. There's a lot of depth and variation and interesting things happening here. I really love this. It performed really well. There's no pinholes here. Nothing to be concerned about. It's beautiful. I'm a big fan of this combo. Those are all the ones that I did on screen for you, but you might have noticed this guy sitting over here in the corner. This one I did off screen. And this is Mayco's Eggplant with Mayco's Copper Float on the top. From what I've seen, Copper Float and Ancient Copper are very, 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 very similar. So you would probably get the same results or very similar ones if you used Amaco's copper, Ancient Copper. This one, I mean, look, this Copper Float is just beautiful anyway. this was the one that caught my husband's eye when it came out of the kiln. So it was overlapped. I did the eggplant up to about here and the copper float down to about here. So you can see what it did on the overlap. The overlap is not as exciting. I might minimize the overlap next time. But this copper with the purple, gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. I will for sure do this again. And I did the eggplant on the inside. It's because the copper float doesn't always behave itself when it's on the inside, but the eggplant did exactly what I expected it to do. It's nice and smooth and clean, and I think I poured it in this one, which is why you're not getting as much of the kind of splotchiness as we saw on this one. You guys, I was expecting to be really meh about eggplant. Honestly, the only reason that I bought it was to mix it with the passion flower so that I could use up the extra crystals that I have in that. I didn't really expect to like it other than that because it's a flat gloss glaze, which is not usually my thing. Usually I like the floating style glazes, something interesting happening in them. But I am super impressed by this glaze. And I might actually start using this instead of the mulberry celadon for my cups and whatnot that I do in that iris combination. I talk more about that in the review I did of Coyote's iris celadon. Because, it looks really good in combination with all sorts of other glazes that I use. These are gorgeous. I have absolutely nothing to complain about here. If you like purple, and I think we all know that I am a sucker for purple, this is a really solid glaze, and I'm really enjoying it. I am going to use it a bunch from now on, now that I've opened it up and tried it and seen how beautiful it can be. It's going to go into rotation for sure. So if you have a bottle of glaze sitting on your shelf that you bought and you've just kind of looked at it and gone, for the last 6 months or year, this is your sign to take that pint of glaze down and give it a try, because you never know, it might be your new favorite. Thanks for spending some time with me today, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Until then, happy potting.